come to you in June. It's now, say, July. You still don't have security, and they're sitting there, and you are raising the matter of security continuously. You have this break-in in October. You raise the matter again with Nyuswa, and nothing with Brigadier Nyuswa, and nothing happens. Is there no mechanism where you can escalate it directly, or copying, say, General Sinona, but ultimately then General Lebeya? There's no such mechanism.
Commissioner, there would have been big consequences for me if I had done that. There's strict instructions that my line of reporting to Brigadier Nyuswa, from him to General Sinona, from Sinona to the National Head. If I spoke directly to the National Head, there would have been big problems.
So you say there's a strict instruction of that reporting, or how to handle matters?
That is correct, Commissioner.
And in terms of that, if as in this case, Brigadier Nyuswa does nothing about it, that's the end of it for you. As with the security thing, there's nothing more you can do about it.
Commissioner, the National Head was also well aware of the security challenges at my office. As I explained with the provincial inspections that we have every quarter, we have once a year, we have inspection from the national team, where the National Head sends people. It's normally a brigadier and some full colonels that visit these units and inspect everything, dockets, registers, everything. And they also interview the commanders, and I have raised it with them. And those reports from those national inspections goes directly to the National Head. So the National Head was well aware of my challenges there in Potchefstroom. If I would have jumped Brigadier Nyuswa and General Sinona and communicated with the National Head, even from the National Head side, I would have been in big problems.
And you're saying the system or the prescripts work in such a way that even after the October break-in, where now we know you're sitting with this consignment of cocaine, are you saying even after the October break-in, having raised the alarm with Nyuswa again and say Sinona, you're saying you could never reach out, you were not allowed, you precluded rather, reaching out to General Lebeya at that point because you're going outside of the prescripts? Is that what you're saying?
That is correct what I'm saying, Commissioner. And these factual reports about each incident that happens at a DPCI office, that is escalated to the National Head. So he would have received that factual report of the breaking, and he knew that those drugs have been stored by me.
Yes, that would have been my next question, because I didn't remember what the evidence was previously, that the National Head knew that those drugs were being kept at your office.
I would presume that Brigadier Naika would have informed him. Brigadier Naika is the SANEP coordinator sitting here in Pretoria. He falls under the DPCI, under the National Head. All drug seizures are directly reported to him. When General Musekile came down, the Thursday after the break-in, I was called into the Durban office. I'm still getting to that in my statement. Brigadier Naika was there as well. So it would have been the National Head would have been notified.
You assume At this stage, you sitting there now, you assume the national head would have known that you were storing this. You are not saying it as a fact. You assume
I
he would
won't
have known.
know, but,
All right,
I
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to follow up on what I consider is one of the most important aspects, at least for the commissioners, upon making recommendations. What are these big problems that you say you would have faced?
I would have been charged departmentally. I could have lost my job.
Okay, no, that's fine. So it's you would have been charged. It would have been a disciplinary issue.
That's correct.
And obviously, if it is found that it was an unlawful instruction, you would, let's say, assuming we've got an independent chairperson, you would have been absolved at the very least.
If it was an independent person, yeah. But if it was a member of the force, then I would have still had problems.
And ordinarily, who would be sitting in that hearing?
It would have been senior officers from KZN, from our provincial office.
And your view is that you would not have, I think, received a fair hearing, so to speak.
Definitely.
Okay.
I was just expressing a historical fact. I was a civil servant in the early 80s, and they were very strict with what they called channels of communication. You could never write a letter to someone above the person to whom you report directly, and it was actually a disciplinary offense to do that. I'm surprised to hear that that's still the case at this day and age.
Commissioner, that is still so. That is still up to today. It is still like it.
Thank you. I think then let's go back to your statement.
We are at 55.
You started paragraph 55.
I went with Warren Pangase to the cars carrying the exhibits, left Major General Sonona and Brigadier Newswa by their vehicle.
And just to remind ourselves, they were not inside that driveway. They were parked in front of the offices.
Yeah, they were standing there in the driveway, not inside where we were. But they were at that stage, they would have had their coffee.
Okay.
I think they were standing and drinking their coffee at that stage.
So, Colonel Dina Govender would have been back.
Yes.
He would have been part of the group that would be, as we would go to, offloading the exhibits.
That's correct.
And did Brigadier Newswa and Major General Sinona observe or supervise the offloading, or they were just informally having a chat amongst themselves?
They were just having a chat there, having their coffee.
Thank you. Please proceed.
I went with Warren Pangase to the cars carrying the exhibits. Left Major General Sonona and Newswa there by their vehicle. I immediately noticed that the bricks of cocaine were not sealed in evidence bags. They were as they were in the photos which were circulating, to which I referred above. This was contrary to the national instruction and the protocol of exhibit handling, which makes it mandatory that the exhibits are sealed in tamper-proof bags and are clearly marked. We then formed a human chain to bring the exhibits from the vehicles into the walk-in safe.
Just to understand. Now, just following up from my previous question, in all of this, Brigadier Newswa and Major General Sinona, they are seeing this activity.
Yes.
And they can see you and others forming a human chain.
That's correct.
Who is issuing instructions?
Warrant Officer Pangase and myself.
You were also issuing instructions.
Yes.
What instructions did you give?
That we form a chain.
Oh, it was your idea.
Pass the exhibits on.
Okay. And in terms of handling the exhibits, would that have been appropriate? With hindsight, of course.
If it was properly done at the scene, which I don't know. I don't know that they have LCRC there that took fingerprints, that dusted for DNA, for fingerprints and all that. It wouldn't have been a problem. But if that was not done and they were still going to do it, then yes, it would have been a problem.
Okay.
So when you were handling these breaks or these packets, your hands were not covered. You were just putting on further fingerprints and DNA onto these packets.
We had gloves on.
You had gloves.
We had the latex gloves on.
Everybody else had gloves.
Yes,
on. Okay.
yes.
Please proceed to paragraph 56.
We put the exhibits in a storage. Major General Snow and Brigadier Newswa observed this. They had no objection. In any event, I assume that they had discussed this with their team. As a provincial commander of DPCI, provincial head, they had the ultimate responsibility and authority to issue commands. Neither myself nor anyone in the office were in control anymore. Warrant Officer Pangase was in charge and under the direct authority of Brigadier Newswa. My role and those of members from my office was to follow the instruction given by Warrant Officer Pangase and Brigadier Newswa. Another strange thing is that they did not require the booking or registration of the exhibits at the office. We did not have a SAP 13 register since its decision had been taken in 2017. The office would not store exhibits. Brigadier Newswa was well aware of this, and I presume Major General Sonona would be aware. The exhibits were not recorded in any form of book. We were also not given a copy of the original SAP 13 register. Essentially, there was no booking of registration of the exhibits as required by the national instruction. Put differently, the exhibits were not recorded in any register. This was a big risk as the exhibits may have or could have been potentially stolen by any person handling them. The exhibits were also not counted. Again, neither Warrant Officer Pangase nor Major General Sonona or Brigadier Newswa even remotely suggested that the exhibits be counted or registered somehow. Once all the exhibits were placed in the safe, and I was told that there were 541 kilograms of cocaine, I could not verify this as there was no counting, and I did not have the keys to the safe thereafter. In terms of the national instruction, even if the office could receive the exhibits, it's required that all exhibits must be physically checked and marked, received correctly or not, in the column next to the item described, paragraph 11.5 of the instruction. Note set out the information which must be provided. The information include station name, receiving station telephone number, CP30 number, CARES number, first cell number, the rank, the name and initial, and the signature of the official receiving the exhibits. Obviously, the aforesaid contemplates the storing of the exhibits in a police station, not an office building, which make matters worse. But even then, there should have been some form of recordal. Yet no documentation, let alone formal, was done, setting out the above.
Okay. I think Commissioner Kumalo, if I'm not mistaken, had asked why would you not have insisted on some form of recording of the exhibits? For example, they could have said there are 541, and then a week later they say, no, there's 300 kg. Why did you not, with that risk, insist on, at the very least, some form of record.
Because the fact Commissioner, that I was just storing it. They, after placing it in there, they requested the keys and they left with the keys.
And at this time, I think we had gone through it earlier on, in where you then gave the keys away. There was also no documentation handing over the keys to them.
No. He requested the keys after the exhibits was placed in there, and I gave him the keys.
Please continue to paragraph 61.
Maybe before you do that, Colonel, the answer that you give that they took the key, they told you it's 541, and you accept it at face value. So you didn't do your own count as these things were coming in, even quietly. You didn't ask to do a count for your own preservation. You know that you don't want. I would assume that you would have been careful not to be caught in a situation where they said 541, and as Mr. Skakani says, that a day later, Mbangase comes back and says, now there's only 540. There was 541, we told you yesterday. You didn't have that protection for yourself, and I don't understand why you wouldn't have done that. I mean, I do have sympathy and maybe some understanding for what the superiors have said, but there's things in this whole scheme that just don't make sense from a selfish point of view of, I need to know these things. They tell me 20. How do I know it's 20 in fact? And just try to explain how you thought about it, how you were processing. You were obviously suspicious of it. That's why you're talking about another strange thing is they didn't require the booking or registration of exhibits. You have made the observation of an anomaly that you saw, that these things, they were circulating somewhere, pictures, and by the time they come to you, they're in bags, they're not sealed. So on that day, at that time, you already had your own discomforts and suspicions about what was going on, or discomforts, let me say, about what was going on. And yet you don't do the simple thing of satisfying yourself that when they say 541, it's 541, because they're left in your building for which you're responsible. Can you just explain that kind of behavior?
Commissioner, I hear what you say. The fact is that if we had the SAP-13 there and it was going to be stored in my office and it's going to be under my control, I'm going to have the safe keys. And that makes all the difference. Because I've got no say over those drugs. I don't have the keys to that safe. That's why I didn't, and the way it came in there, not in evidence bags and stuff. That's why I didn't want anything to do with it.
So that's the view. Is that the view that you took because of all these strange things that you're seeing happening? You took the view you want nothing to do with it, and let them do. This is their thing. Let them do it.
That is correct, Commissioner.
Okay. Thank you.
Go to paragraph 61.
Once all the exhibits was placed in the safe, Major General Sonona and Brigadier Nuswa came closer. I then locked the strong room, both the keys, and handed the 2 sets of keys to Brigadier